This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, www.reevesfirm.com.
In the know.
Good evening, everyone.
In the know. Tony Reeves. Tony Reeves. Fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form.
No shortage of things to talk about.
What does it mean? What will it bring?
Is this a reality we simply have to accept?
Tony Reeves. Fire. Tony Reeves.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, a couple of friendly tips for dealing with an overpayment. All right, for those of you who are not quite sure what an overpayment is, an overpayment is a situation where Social Security makes a determination that they paid disability benefits or benefits to you in error and that you received more monetary benefits than you should have received. I can tell you that a lot of times when those things come up, they can be a nightmare for people. So this is what I'm going to give you a few friendly, kind of proactive and reactive tips. So first of all, this is the biggest one. If you know that you're not supposed to get money for some benefits for certain things, don't spend it. Hear me when I say this. I know this is going to sound goofy. I know it's going to be hard. If you know that you've contacted Social Security and you've told them that you're going back to work, you don't want disability benefits anymore, and you're still getting checks and you're still getting deposits in your account, don't spend it. That means for whatever reason, they didn't process it accordingly. So if you haven't heard anything from them specifically relating to that and so forth, you get that first check or that first deposit after, and you know you've told them, you need to confirm with them if that's money you're going to owe back to the government. Okay? Let them tell you if they say they're going to pay you 1 extra month or 2 extra months and so forth. Don't put yourself in a funky position where you've assumed just because that you've told them this, that, oh yeah, they were going to give you that money anyway. Okay? Contact Social Security verbally and in writing. Meaning, if you know that you've gotten money that you should not be receiving, call them. But then follow up that call with a letter that basically summarizes what you told them. So, hey, I spoke to Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, I told Mr. Jenkins on this date that I no longer wanted disability benefits coming to me. And as a result, he told me, don't worry about it. You'll get one more check and that's cool. Not only do you need to send it to them, you need to send it certified mail because you want to make sure somebody signs for it. You don't want that letter just to be floating in space and you have no proof that it actually got to someone. Okay? Now, if you're not sure if you're supposed to get benefits, again, go back to the first step. Do not spend it. Take the same steps that I told you before. Contact Social Security Administration both verbally and in writing. Hey, on April 1st, I contacted the local Social Security office. I spoke to Mr. Jenkins over the phone, and I informed Mr. Jenkins that I no longer want benefits going, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, a lot of times when people come to me, they've done none of those things. You know, they got the money. They thought Social Security, was supposed to give it to them, so they went in and kept spending it. And then all of a sudden they got hit with this jamming overpayment and they're freaking out. Or they say that a loved one was supposed to contact Social Security, all these particular reasons. And that, they're like, did you contact Social Security? I sure did. Who'd you talk to? Well, I talked to some lady. Some lady does not, I doubt her mama named her son. And her last name is probably not lady. And you're thinking, and I've said that, people are like, why are you being a jerk? I'm like, I'm not being a jerk. I'm trying to get you to understand. Once you start getting into the groove of being general as opposed to specifics, it becomes harder to be able to prove things on your side. So when I ask them, I'll say, have you spoken to someone? Who? If you can't tell me who you spoke to, how do you expect Social Security to tell you if that's who you spoke to? Because they don't keep logs like that. So, I can't say, well, I called at 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. People, they have phone watch duty. There's usually 4 or 5 people sitting up there. Well, I spoke to a woman. Well, there's 4 women who sit up there. Which one? Well, she sounded she might be Spanish. What does that even sound like? And it's like people get mad when I talk to them like they're like, you're being disrespectful and that's being condescending. I say, no, I'm asking because waivers are hard to get. Because ultimately what you're doing is there's 2 ways you get waivers. One, you say the government is making a mistake. There's 2 ways you get a waiver, Is that 1, the government made a mistake, and 2, it would be too much of a financial hardship. And basically what it says, it goes against the spirit of Social Security regulations. But basically it's a nice way of saying that 1, it's a mistake, they screwed up, the government, and that you shouldn't have to be penalized It'd be too much of a hardship to make you have to pay that money back. And I always tell people it's hard to the government making a mistake is almost the hardest one to prove, because people think the fact that Social Security kept paying you is a mistake in of itself, and that's not necessarily the case. Okay. Now, a clear mistake is, let's say that you did what I told you. You contacted them, like, excuse me, not I told you, what I suggested. You're grown, you can do what you want. Let's say you did what I suggested. You told them repeatedly. You never spent the money, you got it. And then boom, you sent it back. And you even sent the money back. And all of a sudden you get this notification tells you owe all this money. And you're like, not only did I send a letter, I sent it certified, and I sent the money back. You've got something that you can now go and you can present to Social Security Administration as proof as to why you shouldn't be hit with overpayment. If that doesn't happen, most people don't have that degree of sophistication in place. The other thing you do is you basically tell the government, listen, I need you to work with me in terms of a payment arrangement that allows me to do it, because my funds are so tight that I couldn't be able to handle that anyway. And sometimes they'll work with you from that standpoint. I know this might not be helpful, but I always tell people that overpayments cases are nightmare cases, because in most cases, the person who's getting the overpayment they're not looking at it from a proactive standpoint to protect themselves. It only becomes proactive when they get that letter telling them they owe $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000. I've seen those letters. And so many times people get so angry because they're like, how did the government let it get to that point? And I always tell people, I want you to be advised when I say this, and do not take this the wrong way. It's a two-way street. Because in the one hand, they kept paying you, but on the other hand, you were in a position that you could have done something as well. You may not believe it, but you really were. So guess what? If you knew you were going back to work, I had a lady like this one. She went back to work, and she literally got Social Security benefits continuing for a year before they finally caught it. She said she told them twice that the benefits, that she went back to work. I said, did you save the money? No. You told them, so you knew, and she saw where I was going with it when I said, so let me get this straight. You knew you weren't supposed to get the money. Yes. You told them you weren't supposed to get the money. Yes. You got the money. Yes. And you spent it anyway. Well, I just thought, don't go back to I just thought. Now what's happening is you're about to, and I told her, I said, what you're about to do is you're about to jump from the excuse to the justification. Okay, you're jumping from the reason to the justification. She was like, what do you mean by the reason to justification? When they were giving you money initially, and you knew that you shouldn't be giving it, you gave me a reason as to why they shouldn't have given it to you. That was great. You kept spending it despite the fact that you knew you had a reason for not getting it. Now you're about to give me a justification for why you shouldn't have to pay it back. That's not the way government's going to look at it. They're going to say, you knew a mistake was made, you knew, but yet you still kept cashing those checks. So even if a mistake was made, even if somebody put a mistake on their standpoint, can you prove that you told somebody? And the sad part in her case is that she said she called, she talked to two different people. She doesn't know who she talked to. She don't know when she talked to them. She doesn't know what time she talked to them. She just knows she talked to two people. She had no proof that she let the government know that she had gone back to work. None whatsoever. So guess what? Boom. I think she had like almost a $27,000 overpayment. Was she able to get a wave down? I don't know, because she came to me and asked me if I could help her, and I told her I could probably see about getting you on a better payment plan, but they're not going to waive that. And she didn't believe me, so she went and tried, and they did not waive it. So I just tell you this, be proactive. If you're not sure, if you know that you're in a situation like you've returned back to work, you're getting some extra money and things like that, keep the government informed. You don't want the government to have to figure out later on. And I talked about this early on in some of the other videos about letting the government figure out things. You don't want the government to figure out if they should have been paying you money and you knew that they should have. Jump in front of it. Get behind it.